Hello.
Hey, Dan.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, how about you?
Good. I'm glad I have the paperwork, trying to figure out how to get on each time, and still not good at it.
Right. It takes time for sure. Do you want, you had asked if I would share the screen. I think you can make me co-host and then I can still share the screen if you want to try that. So
Why don't we do that while we have a minute?
yeah, if you want to hover over my picture and the three dots, are you on an iPad or a computer?
iPad.
Okay. Do three dots show up over me, or is it better to go to participants then?
No, I think I have to go to participants. Okay. So I see you. Do I click on you?
You can click on me, or there might be something that says more.
Okay, so I clicked on you, and then it says make host, but I don't see anything. Whoops.
Oh, there we go. I think you stuck.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I stuck in the waiting room somehow.
If you want to make me host, you can do it now, or you can do it later. If you do it now, I'll need to let people in.
Okay. You know what? That might be better anyhow, just because if I'm talking, it's sometimes distracting.
Sure.
So let me do that. I'm going to make you host. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay.
And I'm sharing the most recent email that I assume it's the most recent one we got from Jackie yesterday. Right?
The plan, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great.
All right. So thank you for admitting people.
Sure.
Dan?
Yes.
I just want to mention that I am attending now as the FinCom liaison from the Finance Committee.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have about another minute or so, and then we'll start. All right, it is 7 o'clock. Welcome to the school committee. I believe all of the school committee is represented. So I appreciate everybody joining us this evening. So as you know, we have a very important meeting this evening. I'll sort of explain how we plan on moving forward. We will begin with public hearings. Public hearing is an opportunity to hear from the community. Any concerns or thoughts or feelings that you might have. After that, we'll move on to the school committee discussion about the hybrid model for 2020. We'll put up on the screen, Jen Malcolm Brown will do that, to show you the plan, and I'll sort of read through it. And then the school committee will have a discussion regarding the proposal. And following that, we will see if there is a motion and a second and a vote on the plan, and then we'll adjourn. So that said, are there any public hearings? Is there anyone that would like to speak this evening? And excuse me, Jen, will you be able to see hands up and all of that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so maybe you can say who is going to speak next or something like that. Okay.
Yep, no hands yet, but.
Thank you. All right. So no hands up, right?
Oh, no, oh, I see, wait a second, I see. Joseph?
And AJ has his hand up too.
I can go first. Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Trapani. I'm a Shutesbury resident and parent of two kids, a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. The 6-year-old was in preschool last year at Shutesbury Elementary and is now in kindergarten. I actually don't know. I kind of just logged in and I don't know the full format. Is this the moment to kind of speak about the current conditions, or is this a different mode of questions
so
and then that comes later?
Yes. Nope, this is your opportunity to speak.
Okay, cool. My glasses are reflecting. I didn't prepare anything. I guess I just wanted to share as a parent, especially of a young child, and just my impressions about school opening and things like that. I think that the remote form of educating kids as it's going right now is what I would say probably the best it can be. I think it's just extremely challenging to teach young people over screens. And that being said, I really applaud the teachers, and I think they're really doing the best they can given the circumstances. But my feeling is, I mean, the National Academy of Sciences, which I think was expanded to the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, has a, I don't know, 100+ page document explaining how critical it is, especially for young children K through 5, but for all children K through 12 to return to in-person classes when it's safe to do so, because of all that happens at our schools that doesn't happen on a screen. I think the National Academy of Nurses has recommended it. There's been a whole number of different places online that are groups of people that recognize, the National Academy of Pediatricians, I think, is another one, that recognize that the socializing that happens in our schools, that the learning that takes place by communities that are learning at the same time in the classroom just cannot be replicated on a screen. And I think that there's also massive inequities that happen based on families and socioeconomic things and differences in people's homes, that, you know, this is our classroom right there. And that's probably a beautiful thing, that maybe a lot of families don't even have the ability to have a quiet space like that with internet. I think Shutesbury's unique in that we have this great fiber optic now. And so at least in terms of streaming, that works well. But I just know from my own kids, their behaviors have changed in recent times. And I think a lot of it is just missing out on spending the time that they were getting with being in person. So that's part one. I'll go quickly. Sorry about taking up a few minutes here. The second thing is I had a lot of anxiety about kids returning to school, especially this summer. Our youngest is at Woodside, and I'm also on the board at Woodside Children's Center in Amherst. And we spent a lot of time discussing whether it was safe to open and return kids. And I was feeling like, while I was advocating for it because I knew it was important, at the same time I was worried and thinking that I wouldn't even have my own kids return. And our youngest has now been there since August 23rd or so, and she's thriving. The school's being very diligent and safe. The teachers are reporting that they feel comfortable. Even Izzy, who's 3 years old, it wears a mask every single day, and they're doing really good jobs at cleaning. And so far, everything has been okay. And my anxiety's gone down an awful lot now. And it's funny to think about where I was this summer and thinking that like it was going to be such a challenging thing. And now it's moving quite well. And we have this whole routine of pick up and drop off, and everyone's being super respectful, and the teachers are excited to be back in the classroom with the kids. So that's the second thing. And then the final thing is that I think we all, as we're staring at our screens right now, and some of you have your screens off, some of us have been on screens all day. I think there's no debate that this is probably the worst thing for our eyes, for our posture, for our psyche. Screen time is just not good. Screen time has its moments, and I think that the teachers are doing a great job of taking breaks and looking at distance and things like that. But it just doesn't replicate in-person learning from a learning point of view, and then just from whatever's coming at our faces from this distance over time. I mean, I'm noticing that my daughter's slouching when she's looking, and I'm trying to work on her posture, and I think we're all probably slouching. There's lots of reasons why I just would think it would be great if we could return. I think that the benefits of, even if we did a week on and a week off and a week on and a week off, to get them used to that it's not a permanent thing. It's just sometimes we're together and sometimes we're at home in our screens. And then when a snowstorm comes, we're definitely at home in our screens. I just think I would love to see something that could bring the kids back into the classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jen, is there anyone else?
AJ, and then Lisa Sanders.
Great, thank you. My name's AJ. I have 3 children. The youngest, Leela, is in 6th grade, is having a really good start to the school year. I want to thank the staff and the leadership and Leela's teachers who've done a phenomenal job, kind of, making the best of a rough situation. I think Leela will be fine with whatever this committee decides. I have personally have a preference. I'd love for Leela to get an opportunity to do some in-person hybrid schooling. So personally, I hope that's what the outcome is. But I think like most of us, I'll support whatever the leadership decides here. I did want to just kind of quickly share, and if it's appropriate, I can do this in the chat. Just some reading. I've been following very closely the testing program that's been happening in New York City public schools, which is, I think, pretty informative for us. I think if for any of you who don't know about this, that there's, I think by last count, about half the school population in New York City has been opting into hybrid learning. And there's a program where I think between 10 and 20% of every school's population is getting tested once a month. And I think there's a lot of testing data that's coming out of that program. And there's a useful article that was published on October 19th in the New York Times. And I think it's informative. So they at that point, they had completed just over 16,000 tests of staff and students, and had received 28 positive tests, 20 for staff and 8 for students, which is less than 0.2 of a test positivity rate of less than 0.2%. And I only raise that because I think it's data that supports the idea that schools are not places are not sort of super, at least to date, have not been kind of super spreader kind of transmission centers. And obviously, we should all keep paying attention to the data that's available. But I think to date, it seems to me that schools are among the institutions that are doing the best job of of where it's happening, of reopening responsibly. And I think that says a lot about the professionalism of educators. And I think if this committee decides that hybrid learning is transition to hybrid learning can happen for Shutesbury, I have a lot of confidence that that it'll be done safely. And I think so I just wanted to share that because it's been something I've been following pretty closely, and it seemed relevant to our discussion. So would it be appropriate if I just shared a link in the comments or the chat page? Is that
Certainly.
suitable?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for giving me a few minutes. Yeah.
Information is invaluable. There's lots of information and resources out there, and sharing it is incredible. So thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Sure. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Lisa.
Thank you. I've written to the school committee a few times and have made lots of points in those communications, but there were just a couple of things that I wanted to say tonight. The first is that I would just say that there is no risk solution, and that in making a decision, we need to not only look at the evidence of the very real risks from COVID, but also the evidence of the very real risks from having only having a remote only option, that is also doing very real damage, and that we need to use the very best evidence we can to look at both of those kinds of risks, rather than only the risks of COVID. And the second piece I wanted to raise is also back to what Joe was saying about increasing the disparities. I think that every parent out there, and all of you, are going to be trying to make the very best decisions that you can for your families. And for some of us, that will be remote only, and that absolutely should be an option for families. But for other families, in-person education is the best option for those families. And so the families who would choose in-person and have the resources will find that somewhere. They will pay for private school, they will leave the community, they will find it. And what that does is leave the parents without those options and without those resources, but if it would still be the best choice for their children to be in school, without the ability to make that choice. And so I think that difference, that those children will be in an even worse situation when or if the families with resources make another choice and don't continue to contribute to our community and our school. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Jen?
I see Nina has her hand up.
All right.
Thanks. I know I spoke at the last meeting and also have corresponded with many of you. I know Jackie's heard a bunch from me already. But I guess I just wanted to say that I hope that tonight, if the committee votes against moving to a hybrid model, if there could be some clarity about what it is that is motivating that vote. And I say that for following up on what Lisa just said, because I think parents really need to be able to make the best decision for their kids. And I know that nobody can predict the future and what's going to happen, but there are some reasons that might keep us from moving to a hybrid model that just aren't going to change. So if the issue is that it's just too hard to have this kind of dual system where teachers are trying to both, teach students who are fully remote and students that are in the classroom, or if the issue is a worry about, uncertainty that we might have to go back to fully remote learning at some point in the future. Those are motivations that seem to me like there's no way that's going to change this year. And so if that is the reason that we're not going hybrid at this time, I would really love to know that so that I can, plan accordingly for my family. And as I said last time, my son is in kindergarten with Barb Fukushima, and she has just been an absolutely amazing teacher and doing an incredible job, an incredibly hard job. But for him, he's been doing fairly well, but only because of how much energy his father and I have been able to put into sort of constantly managing the situation. And if we are very likely to be remote going forward, then we need to make a decision about whether it's possible to continue, under these conditions. So I just urge the committee to, I don't know if there is a formal way that would happen, or if it's just going to come up in the discussion, but it would really help me to have some clarity on kind of what the motivations are, and that would help me understand what is at least possible going forward. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Dan, we have Grace looking to speak.
Grace? Grace, are you there? You can't tell if we can't hear you, Grace, in case you're muted.
Okay, it's good now?
I can hear you now. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'm the preschool teacher in Shutesbury, and I just wanted to go over a few points. The group of teachers wrote another letter to the school committee, which I think you have. And the first point, the biggest motivating factor is safety. And with cold season, flu season, cold weather, and holidays coming up, we are concerned about the risk going up, even in our small community. So I wanted to emphasize that. And the second point is, I think everyone would agree that live learning is the best way to go, but it's not going to be what kids are used to. It's not going to be what any of us are used to. And there's going to be a certain amount of stress and anxiety about social distancing and managing the kids and the materials and all of that. So that's another thing that we have seriously considered. And thirdly, in thinking about how to meet kids' social emotional needs, it might be possible to offer the academics in a remote way and some kind of social gathering, social get-togethers outside through this colder season and this period of time where everyone is predicting the cases to go up. So I just wanted to share that from the staff people that wrote that letter. That's it.
Thank you for sharing that with all of us. Jen, can you see anyone else's hand up?
I do not see more hands.
All right. Is there anyone who's not familiar with how to put up a hand and wants to just say something? Unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, I can say something. I'm Katie Herring. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. Go ahead.
I didn't know how to raise my hand. My name is Katie Herring, and I'm the school nurse at Shutesbury Elementary School. And I was in the last meeting and just wanted to give my input real quick. I'll turn my phone off. I just wanted to say that as a staff member and a parent of a child at SES, that the quality of the remote learning designed by the teachers and the administration is outstanding. And I understand and sympathize with both sides of the issues of remote learning versus in-person. Again, as a staff member and an in-person, I mean, as a parent to a 3rd, 8th, and 11th grade children that I have on my own. As a school nurse, it has been my job since March 11th to plan and develop a safe return to in-person learning, along with the Mass DPH, DESE, the state and local boards of health, and school administration. I have attended countless trainings, webinars, meetings, and certifications to educate myself, my peers, and staff for the best way to plan this. And in these 9 months, I have followed, which I just want people to know my standpoint. In these 9 months, I've followed schools all over the state, the country, and the world earlier on, and what has been working in schools and what has not been working. Currently, I regularly meet with the Franklin County Board of Health, as well as numerous school nurses in the county, troubleshooting in school learning, what's working in schools and what's not. The data shows that the transmission of COVID-19 within schools is rare, as reiterated by Governor Baker today. And I feel that the plan developed that you will see from administration and Jackie in a little bit has actually gone above and beyond what other schools in our area and surrounding counties have done. And has absolutely put the health and safety of the staff #1 priority and students. Will it work? That's the plan, but no one can predict the future, which everybody knows, and the plans are constantly changing as well. I do want to say that the #1 reason that the plan put forward by Jackie and administration, how it won't work is if it all relies primarily on the parents and the staff not coming to school when they're sick and really taking it seriously. If there's sniffles, if there's any of the symptoms that when the time comes, I will be sending home a big packet for families. It has to be the responsibility lies on the community to stay home when you're sick. Stay home when you're sick, stay home when you're sick. I can't say it enough. And when that happens, that's where the data is showing that transmission is not being spread in schools. Like I said, whenever the time is that we move forward, I have developed, if parents are wondering and families, what exactly the procedures will happen. I do have that all laid out and that will be sent to you. So I'm not keeping anyone in the dark, but I didn't want to overwhelm anyone. So that was my piece to say.
Thank you, Katie. Jen, anyone else? All right. Well, I just want to say on behalf of the school committee, we do appreciate all of the information that people have shared with us this evening, as well as letters that have been sent to the school committee and to the school. We have been abreast of the plan that Principal Mendoza and the leadership team have been working on. It does seem like there has been a lot of input from lots of different constituencies, including teachers, paraeducators, staff members, community members, parents. So I'm happy, or I feel comfortable that there's been a lot of consensus building and a lot of really valuable information and points of information that have been shared. So that said, I'd ask Jen Malcolm Brown if she can post the plan up on the screen. And
hang on one
try to
second.
walk.
Let me get the right thing here. Okay, should be all set.
Okay. All right, so just to sort of walk us through this, we'll go through it. We'll try to go through it fairly quickly, and then the school committee will discuss this based upon not only the information that we've received, but the information that we've researched ourselves and the input that was given again this evening. So the recommendation coming from the administration indicates #1, that kindergarten, first, second grade would begin in a hybrid fashion on December 7th. Dismissing it for December break and return on Thursday, January 7th. Closed for 2 weeks after the holiday. And I think the reasoning behind that was really for if people do have social gatherings, it'll give us a little time. Then coming back January 4th, 5th, and 6th with the remote learning days. The second step, kindergarten through second would offer in-person instruction from 8:30 to 11:30 and remote instruction from 1 to 3, Monday through Friday. Lunch will not be served or eaten in the school. But would still be available for pickup on the designated days if families are taking part in that lunch program that we currently have. 3, kindergarten through second would have one cohort of students attending every day and not an alternating cohort model. Number 4, kindergarten through second teachers can choose to go to a larger space to accommodate students, and this includes outside, the courtyard, music room, or the gym. And they'll have access to an air purifier for their room. 5, specials and support teachers, including Jackie and Debbie Lee, Heather Lowenstein, Annie Foley, will work with the kindergarten through second grade teachers to support and ensure an explicit, structured, and planned schedule that includes masks and movement breaks outside. 6, the nurse and principal will help staff scan and monitor students and their health before they gain access to the building. 7, parents and guardians must fill out the symptom checklist before the students are accessing the building. 8, the nurse or designee will make rounds and respond immediately to any concerns from staff around the health or symptoms of students. And 9, masks would be worn by students and staff at all times. If students are not able to tolerate a mask plan will be created by the school psychologist, teacher, and nurse, and the principal. Students will not be able to participate in in-person learning until the mask is tolerated. 10, parents and guardians are reminded that in-person learning will not look like it has in normal times. Students will be sitting at desks while in the classroom. They will be able to play outside, keeping a distance of 6 feet between peers. Students will keep their masks on while playing. They will have their masks off during mask breaks only. 11, students are encouraged to bring at least 2 masks to school, and the school can provide masks to those who need them. Masks will be changed outside about halfway through the morning time. 12, kindergarten through second grade teachers may work to adjust the schedule to allow small groups of instruction in the afternoon, and this may alter the schedule for kindergarten through second grade families only. 13, kindergarten through second grade teachers may choose to order double of all materials. This way students are only taking their electronic devices to and from school. 14, students at home will have access to teacher-taught mini lessons by camera computer. When the teacher is with the students outside, the classroom para or building staff member will engage with the students at home. 15, staff and families will be made aware of the weekly communication from the Board of Health in Shutesbury Elementary School in regards to COVID cases in the county and the town. 16, families that initially choose remote that want to switch to hybrid have to wait a 10 to 15 school day period so that the classroom and needed supplies can be arranged for that student. Families who choose hybrid that want to change to remote may do so with 5-day school day notice. And 17, all guardians that choose hybrid will need to attend a mandatory meeting with the principal regarding the health and safety precautions and the travel gathering outside of school expectations within the plan. Then the recommendations for older grade include 1, we recommend the Shutesbury School Committee meet again on January 21st to examine the state and local data and information and thoughts from the staff, students, and families attending in-person instruction to determine if older grades will gradually be added to the hybrid schedule. And then until the January school committee meeting, grades 3 through 6 will remain remote, and Shutesbury Elementary School will consider ways to offer outside meetup opportunities for engagement and connection for older students. So that's the plan. I just want to say a few things. I know that there is a handbook. The handbook really outlines a lot more specifics. Specifics that include things such as entrance and exits into the building, the use of bathrooms by different grades, walking patterns. There's a lot of mitigating efforts and a lot of information in regards to those efforts in the handbook. So that said, if you want to bring us back to the Brady Bunch look, and I guess I'll invite each of the school committee members if they'd like to share their thoughts or ask questions to myself or Jackie. And what I'll do, I'll start, since sometimes sometimes it makes it a little bit more comfortable for others. My personal feeling is this is a very difficult decision for everybody. I respect the position of the teachers and understand their health concerns. I also support the feelings of anxiety and stress from the parents. Ultimately, looking at all the research, my primary concern is really about students and student learning, coupled with the fact that I feel there have been a lot of efforts made to mitigate any kind of transfer of the virus. I really think the plan is very thorough. And I also know that Principal Mendoza, as well as the leadership team, are going to be monitoring it. I think of this plan as a roadmap. If we were driving from here to California, having that roadmap is essential. I would expect that there might be bumps along the way and things that detour us. And when we hit a detour, when we hit a complication, when we hit a barrier, together we will work through it. AJ, I just want to mention one of the words that you said that I really appreciate was the word support. I think that all of us need to support and work with each other through this very difficult time. One of the words that I heard tonight was also sides. And I think that it wasn't meant in the way that it sounds, but I don't want to use that word because I think we're all on the same side. We're one community. We're one community really trying to figure this out. We're looking at information from the state, from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, but there are so many variables and so much that we don't know. We're learning along the way, but I really value the relationship that we have all built in the school community. And I really want to make sure that that is treasured and that we continue to support each other and work with each other. When we see there are concerns and there are differences, that we try to address them in a very collegial and cordial way. My feeling is I think that the plan is an excellent plan. And I think it's important that we continue to monitor the plan as we implement it. We adjust and amend as necessary. We work together as a community and begin with this model, reevaluate, and determine at what point we can, if we can, bring additional grades in. So that is my feeling. Would another school committee member like to share their thoughts or feelings?
I will if no one else wants to.
Go ahead, Steve.
So My question is, if we've got that group K1 and 2 in that corner of the building, what is wrong with bringing since we've got 16 sixth grade families that want to attend in-person schooling, that is a crap load of families. And then you've got 7 fifth grade. Why can't we do the combined 5, 6 again, just for this, finish out the year that way? And because they're on the other side of the hallway from the K1, 2, and let the 3rd and 4th come later. But I find that talking about this on January 21st is going to be way too late, because by the time we do that and get everybody, it's going to be March, or could even be April by the time we got the 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th in there. So I'd really like to see the 5th, at least the 5th and 6th somehow worked in there, because if you've got 16 families that want to get back in there, we can't ignore them, because that's what I learned. I've been doing this on the regional committee since June. And what I learned through the negotiations with the teachers is that we were so concerned about teachers that we forgot about the students. At least that's how I feel. So yeah, so I'd like to see more kids in the school than less. Thank you.
So what I would say to that is I believe that we're trying to approach this in a very cautious, methodical way. However, I also feel that this is very fluid. So we certainly can certainly monitor to see how this plan is working, and we can look at introducing additional grades anytime that I think administration and teachers, feel we could comfortably. I think part of this is really getting things rolling, but I also see your point, Steve. I think, as many people that we are looking at in terms of trying to accommodate everybody's concerns and needs, we really certainly don't want to lose the focus on students. So I appreciate that. Perhaps we could look at that piece of that date. Are there any other comments from school committee members, or would you like to make a motion?
Can I speak, Dan?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I first just want to thank Jackie and Jen and all of the staff at SES. I think I just know what care and heart each member of that school community puts into every single decision being made, and so I really trust that you're really thinking about every option that's on the table, and so I appreciate that. Steve, I do hear your point, and I also think from my perspective, young people get the best care that they possibly can get when their teachers are well, and so I personally want to make sure that we're managing both of those needs, that we have families that are getting the support that they need, and also teachers that really feel supported to provide the care that they do so well. And I think that's all I'll say there. Thank you.
There was a question, I think, that was put up. Jen Malcolm Brown, can you read that question, please?
April Cannon has would like a question to be answered about the most recent plan.
Okay.
Hi. Yes, I'm putting on my parent hat, and I have a clarifying question that relates to remote instruction for kindergarten through 2nd graders in the plan that Jackie is drafted or recommended that we're looking at. And I know in Northampton, the decision was made to go hybrid, and what that had the way that rolled out has left anybody choosing remote with basically being told that, well, you know, once we go hybrid, there really aren't resources for remote students. So it's sort of like the pendulum swings the other way. And I just want to make sure that we think about that. In particular, I know there's many kindergartens, you know, looking at the survey results, the majority of the kindergarten families were selected in person. However, as it moves up into first and second grade, there's larger number of families that would choose remote. And I just want to speak for those families to make sure that we don't completely sort of upend what the experiences that remote students are having right now if we are looking at a potential hybrid return for K through 2. And I'm reading the plan now, and it says students at home will have access to teacher taught mini lessons by camera computer. And I'm assuming that that's a video lesson. And when the teacher is with students outside the classroom, para or a building staff member will engage with the student at home. And I'm just clarifying if that means that if a child in K2 is doing remote, if that would mean that they would no longer be doing in-person meets with their teacher, with the exception of when the class itself was outside.
We don't have all this stuff figured out, April, because there's only so much we could do at one time. But what I would envision is that there would be the mini lesson being recorded while the mini lesson was happening for those people at home. And then I have met with the K-2 teachers, and I know they want to spend a lot of time outside. And so remote students will not be able to be outside with them. So after the instruction, then the classroom para or another person in the building is going to have to help manage those remote students at home. And then in the afternoon, that's why K-2 would look different in the afternoon, because there may be more remote virtual instruction being done in the afternoon now because all of the students would be at home.
And I think Principal Mendonza, that once we make a decision and move with a plan, we would have a clearer idea of staff returning, students returning, et cetera, and then could make more detailed plans.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I just want to put that out there that, you know, I think what happens when we sort of make this big shift between remote to hybrid is it's, you know, families whose children stay remote also have the right to have equal access to education. And when we look at those students in kindergarten through second grade, I would argue that the only way they can actually access education is with a teacher right there with them. That's my experience as far up as third grade, is that, you know, you can't move out of the meat and expect that much is going to be accomplished. So I just hope
Well,
that
I know I appreciate that feedback, April, and I also know the wonderfully professional and creative staff at Shutesbury Elementary will continue to partner with Principal Mendonza in offering creative solutions as we move forward. So
absolutely,
thank you for bringing that forward, and you know, thank you for being part of an amazing team at SES.
Yes. Do we have a motion?
Dan, can I ask one more question?
Certainly. And I just want to, one comment, I just want to apologize because I am on a screen where I can only see 9 people. So if there are people with hands up or things like that, I'm sorry, I can't always see you. So, but go ahead, Jen.
So with the December 7th, I'm imagining that a piece of that date is that it also gives that same opportunity for after a holiday where families may be gathering and give that distance. Is that right? And knowing that this is like all of this is, we don't have the information for what things will be like for December 7th. So just anticipating or thinking about what families may need for information around, like, what are the guiding factors that would help us understand if that date would move or not? And are you getting guidance from DESE? Are you having conversations? Are there conversations about that, Jackie and Jen, about that data?
I think it's very,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Jen, I'll say something little and then you go.
Okay.
So when you're saying DESE and the state, if it was in the hands of DESE and the state, we would all be at school full person, full day. So I just want to, that is very clear that that is their stance at DESE and on the state level. So,
And, yeah, to
even though
follow
it-
what,
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that we get metrics from DESE mostly after the fact. But we have been working really closely with local boards of health, FERCog, the school nurses in Union 28 have been beyond amazing. And so what we would look at would be either the state metrics from DESE or other metrics to make a determination about what is the trajectory of the virus come December 7th. But if, the metrics remain as is, or change or lessen in any way, December 7th would be our date. And certainly we would get together before that December 7th date as an admin team with local health officials to make a determination and get that message out to families as soon as possible.
Thank you. Oh, Dan, we have AJ has his hand up.
Okay, AJ?
Hey, just a quick question. I was wondering if there's any appetite among the committee for a date sooner than, I forget what it was, the late January date where you're going to revisit the issue of the transition to hybrid for older students. That and it does feel like that's a long way off. I mean, that's more than 2 months away. And is that yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, that I think it would be comforting for some families to learn that there might be an opportunity to revisit that question sooner than late January.
Thank you. Lauren?
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what AJ said, I am really uncomfortable with holding off. I would like to have an ongoing discussion. I would not want to get to that late of a date and then be deciding. I want to have, I'm not sure how best to approach it. Maybe we set up some checkpoints along the way. But I'm really uncomfortable with waiting 2 months to then talk about when we might, that's extending it out farther than I'm comfortable with.
Katie?
Just adding that I agree with all of those things. I think it's important that this conversation is ongoing for in the very near future and continues to be. So I would support that happening sooner.
Okay. Lauren, do you have, would you like to amend the plan on that date? Perhaps we could just remove the date and say this is an ongoing and will be evaluated on a more frequent basis, or,
Yeah,
I don't want to be.
I think we need to decide how often. I think we need to decide how often we need to check in, and I know that Jackie, the plan that you are putting forth, you put a lot of thought into, and I know that there are reasons for what you're suggesting. So I don't want to push sending more kids back to school before all the pieces work well for all, because it needs to be about safety. And I understand that the use of the building, there are a lot of considerations, right? So I don't want to push it too quickly. I just want to make sure that it's an ongoing discussion and that we, so I'm not sure exactly the best time.
Yeah, so what can't happen is have no date. That can't happen. Because right. I have teachers that, some teachers that are willing to come back and some that are not. So if we don't have a date and I don't have teachers being able to tell me that they are going to leave or not by a date, so that I have to then repost, interview, and hire other teachers, I need a significant amount of time to be able to do that. And I can't just do that in a week. I can't like if people wanted to meet, let's just say on January 7th, and they were like, next week we're bringing 6th grade back, that can't happen, because that teacher and that team need time and planning. They need to be able to tell me if they're leaving. I need to be able to find a teacher to put in that spot. And the reason why I picked the 21st was, one, it was already the school committee date that we meet on the third Thursday of the month. But two, I did want to have a trial period with the K2 teachers and work out a lot of things that we're questioning, such as how are we going to have a solid remote program on, because half of our kids are going to be remote. So how are we going to have a solid remote program and have a solid in-person program and not be able to hire one remote teacher and one in-person teacher per grade, and have to figure that out? How are we going to operate the cameras to offer that? Who are we going to get to be with the kids when the teacher's outside with the in-person kids? How are we going to make it equitable for all of our students? Who's leaving? Like I said, who's coming? Who's willing to be here? Who's not going to be here? There's like 1 million things to think about. I am very proud of our plan in school, and I am very sure that it would be a safe environment in the school. And I will say that publicly. Not every school has separate bathrooms and separate entrances and a pattern of where we're walking and air purifiers and great air ventilation. Like, that's not the case everywhere. But it's not just as easy as like bringing them back. There's the people who have to teach them. And that is the reason why I did the 21st. So we would have a solid amount of practice, working out the kinks, all of the teachers understanding what's working and what's not working, and an appropriate amount of time to be able to plan for it. But this is not my decision. So if the committee wants to change it and wants to change the date, all I request is please make it so that there's a significant amount of time for me to be able to do what I have to do to be able to make it happen.
Bryn, I'm going to come to you in just a moment, okay? Jackie, can I ask you a question? And again, I think for the school committee to be meeting with you, it's really going to be about information, to see what we can do to support you and the school and the community. So I think what I'm proposing, and I'm prefacing it first because I don't want you to think it's micromanaging, but I think it's informational. It'll probably be good for the school committee to meet with you it'll be a school committee setting, but to hear how things are going, and then maybe we can look at a date as far as opening. So I'm wondering if we could even perhaps meet on December 17th, which is a Thursday, and get an update on how the plan is being executed, and if there are complications or problems, to see where we are. And at that point, perhaps we would have a better sense of, whether you feel ready for other students to come back in, and because I do think that this is very, very fluid. How would you feel about us setting that date as to a review?
A review, fine, but I would also want a date then. December 17th is awfully close to vacation. So if I have to, like, let's just say on December 17th, the committee decides that they want to bring in, I don't know, 5th and 6th grade, or even 3 to 6. I don't know. It's going to be very hard for me if I have to like rehire a teacher to be doing that over break and then have them ready to come back when everyone else comes back. So that's why you need, like, whatever date that you decide you want to have your meet with me, I need like 2 school weeks, not vacation weeks, like at least 2 school weeks to then be able to figure stuff out.
Because I can concur with what Jackie says. When we shifted in other Union 28 schools from remote only to hybrid, the amount of requests that came in, whether it was an ADA request or an FMLA request or an FFCRA request, those increase as we get closer to the time when teachers would have to report to in-person learning. So I would want as Jackie said, some lead time between one phase in and another, in case we would have to either shift personnel or hire personnel. The beauty of our schools in Union 28 is they're small. The difficulty of our schools in Union 28 is that they're small. I don't have a second, third grade teacher, right? I have one of everybody. And so we do need some lead time to look at staffing issues.
Okay, so looking at the calendar, giving us enough lead time, is there a date that is sooner than the 21st?
Well, I'm sorry, can I speak, Dan?
Yes, please.
The language on the document says that we'll meet on the 21st to examine data and information and thoughts to determine if older grades will gradually be added. It's a very open statement. So we could also change the purpose of that date, to something more concrete. I don't know. It may be, considering the holiday and all the pieces in between, it may be that students, and I defer to your judgment on this, Jackie, that would be the earliest, but a decision could be made. But I don't want to that just seems very open, the way that's worded.
I totally get what you're saying, Lauren, but I do just want to say, I said that I recommended that the K2 come back on January 7th, which is not even, it's a day less than 2 weeks after Christmas date. But then 2 weeks after that, which would be the lead time I need, is the 21st. So I agree with Lauren that if you want the 21st to be more of a deciding date, then maybe you should change that language to say that you would vote on the 21st about a potential start on the whatever date you want to say. Again, this is your decision. So if you wanted to be able to do that meeting earlier, then that's fine. But like if you wanted to do it on the 14th of January instead, that would give me 3 weeks to be able to report about. Just putting that out there. But I think that that's a good suggestion, Lauren, is maybe altering the language about the 21st.
Okay, so as you're thinking about that, I know, Corinne, you had your hand up. I'll take your question now or your comment.
Yeah, I just want to, is it appropriate? Because is this the time for only people who are on the committee? Because I can hold it.
Well, technically, yes. We're trying to hammer through it, and it is the meeting. However, I always conduct my meetings in a fashion where people's voices are heard. So if you wanted to speak now, you can.
Okay, I'll try to make it very quick then. How about that?
I appreciate that.
Okay, I just want to say, Jackie, thank you so much for speaking so candidly. I think I understand what it is to run an institution, even though mine is much different and smaller than yours. But it's the same. I so empathize with the intensity of people saying, well, why can't we just do this? Why can't we just do this? And you're like, you have no idea all the inner workings. So I just wanted to honor you and thank you for speaking, sharing the truth of all the ins and outs that you are holding that many of us don't know about. And just my respect and love for you. You have been amazing for these children for all these years now. And so that's my gush is I just want to say thank you, because really you guys have been amazing and the teachers have been incredible. And this is these times are very intense. So the main thing besides my gushing of my love and appreciation of you and the teachers at SES is I've been asking, like, well, what can I do as a parent? Like, what if for the older grades we did we had a group of parents that could volunteer, I'll do every Wednesday, we'll meet at the school from whatever it is, 1 to 3:30, so that the kids could have outdoor movement time or outdoor science discovery time. So I apologize if this has already been talked about, because this is the first meeting I've been able to come to, but I just wanted to say if there was a need, or it would be helpful to have parents like on board in that way, sign me up. I can help spearhead like an outdoor, active, exciting volunteer parent, help you out, help us all out kind of thing. So, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Corinne. And that is something I think a lot of teachers are throwing around, how we can offer some sort of outside meetup times. And then the only thing, because, you know, I have a different lens, right? So I see things a little bit bigger. And the only thing is that if we're going to offer things like that, it doesn't mean we cannot do it, because I think we can, but it means that it's a bigger thing. So I would have to check for about transportation. And if people don't have transportation, then I need to be able to get the buses. I need to be able to make sure the buses can come at a certain time to be able to pick up all the kids, so it's equal access. So, and it's not just the kids whose parents can bring them at that time. And so, not that I don't think we could do it, because we are small enough where I do think we could try to get that going in some way, particularly if we're only really doing it for 3 or 4 grade levels, because some of them are in school. So, but it's really nice to know that you're willing to do that. I know there's several other older grade student families who have also offered something like that before, and we really understand that it's something that they're really hoping for their kids at least to have some of that connection. So we're thinking about that for sure.
So I'd like to come back to the plan, but I do want to thank you, Corinne, because it's always good to get a little gush in there. Okay, so thank you for the gush. I think the thing that's kind of holding us back is really that date. So let's focus on that a little bit. And I'm going to throw this out there as a thought, and it could be a bad one. Could we set a date for bringing back other grades and then monitor it along the way and see how things are going? Would that be better to flip it that way, Jackie, in terms of preparation for teachers and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stand by my recommendation, but if the committee would like to do that, then all I'm asking for is I have at least 2 weeks lead time.
Okay. And currently students, and I'm sorry, I have a calendar in front of me, so I don't have the plan in front of me. The students, kindergarten through 2nd, are coming back on what date after the holidays?
The Thursday, the 7th.
The 7th, okay.
They would be in school the other days. It's just that it would be remote until the 7th.
Mm-hmm. Could we plan on the 14th? How does the committee feel about that? And that'll be, monitoring along the way.
I think Jackie's request was for 2 weeks post vacation, post break. So does the 14th give us that leeway?
So the 14th would give us 1 week in school, and then looks like another holiday, right? Anyone have a calendar?
So the 18th would be the full 2 weeks.
The 18th is Martin Luther King Day.
Right.
Okay. Jennifer, do you have a suggestion there? Thinking again with the goal being setting a date for bringing back additional grades, depending upon if the plan in place seems to be supporting students and staff and teachers?
I think the wrinkle here, because, Jackie and I presented this in partnership, is that in between the phase 1 lies the winter holiday break. And that makes it really difficult. And I do understand how people are feeling. The 21st feels far away. But I do think the winter holiday, you know, adds another layer of complexity. But as Jackie said, if you have another date you all feel comfortable with, we can try and make that work. We will make it work.
Okay, what
certainly.
about, will students be back on January 4th or is it January 11th? Is it?
They're back on the 7th. They're back remote. Those third, fourth, the 4th,
Yeah.
right? I don't
The
have it
4th,
in front
5th,
of
and
me.
6th would be remote, and they come back on
Then
the
the
7th.
7th in person.
What if we plan on the 7th? For the rest of the grades? Katie?
I'm hearing what you're saying and all of that, and I'm wondering if maybe a target date would be, I think the 7th might be too soon for the, you know, Jackie's needing all of that time. I get the idea of setting a target date so parents had an idea though. And I would suggest maybe January 21st as a target, with setting a meeting before that to check in and see if that's still on course. Or, you know, what delays. So it would be a somewhat tentative date because a lot of things would have to line up.
Can you say that date again? I'm sorry, Katie.
The 21st?
I'm happy to meet with the committee on the 7th to tell them about the progress or whatever, or the 14th. I'm happy to meet whenever. Like, that's not, I can meet whenever.
Right.
I want to meet.
I think we can meet more frequently between now and whatever the date is, the second date is, because I think even after that first week, we may want to meet a week later just to find out how things are going and if there's any support that we can give you or anything, wrinkles in the plan that we can help you with in some way. But I think setting a date for the rest of the grades coming in, and I do also kind of recognize that that's really a long sort of time away. So again,
It is a long time away, but when you're also planning and you're coming back the 7th, it's really only 2 weeks from that date. It's only 2 weeks coming back from when we come back in January in person. So I get it that sounds long and it sounds far, but it's really 2 weeks. But again, I'm going to stop talking because it's not my decision.
Well, can I ask a question? Is it easier for starting on a Monday versus a Thursday, or?
Well, whenever you actually introduce new students into a building, it would actually be a nicer time to do it on a Wednesday or a Thursday, so they have a few trial days and then they have a break and then you come back into the full week. So very similarly to how we start school normally, right? We start on a Wednesday and it's always nice to start off in a smaller way just to get it all going again and then continue.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to throw, oh, I'm sorry, Lauren.
I think if we accept the idea of a phase in that we need, that we're starting with K2, then we need to give that the time. So my issue, what I was personally bringing up was that to have the 21st as a time to be discussing when we would gradually do that felt very far off in the future. And so, you know, I think if it feels tenable to Jackie to have that as a tentative date, assuming that with our meetings along the way that we are, you know, comfortable with the way things are going in the classroom, that the metrics stay the same, all of those pieces, then I think that gives the first phase time to get started.
Okay, so that's a good proposal. I'm gonna throw out another one. Because I do wonder, and again, I'm not in the building, so I don't know. But if we're looking at phased in approach, could we do something, and this is just a thought, bringing back third, fourth on January 14th, which is a Thursday, and then fifth, sixth, January 21st. Stephen?
If you're gonna looking at the numbers, if we're gonna do that, we should switch it where it's 5, 6 come in before 3 and 4, because 5 and 6 have bigger numbers that want to be back in there than 3 and 4 do.
That's a good point. And these are target dates, understanding that this is a plan and we will have to monitor it and, adjust. But Jackie, I guess my question to you is, having these dates, does it better prepare you for making sure that we have, teachers and those kinds
concrete things make everything easier. So what if that's what you're, I did give you my proposal. If you're wanting to recommend it this way, then having concrete dates is helpful so that teachers can make up their mind about what they need to do for themselves.
Okay.
The only other thing I would say is when we look at metrics, it's typically a 2-week rolling average. That's what the state says. And so bringing in 2 separate cohorts within a week feels like there could be some fluctuation. So we may want to think about a 2-week span between cohorts.
And I would also love, so if you were doing the 14th, Nan, if that's what you're proposing, I would still like to meet on the 7th to go over the metrics in the area as well.
So Jennifer and Jackie, since that was your comment, Jennifer, do you feel more comfortable doing the 7th and 21st, 7th and 21st, or 14th and 28th, bringing them back? Or does it
There's
matter
no
to
question in my mind. I would rather the 14th and 28th.
14th and the 28th. Yeah, because we're re-bringing back our little ones on the 7th. And then I'd like to bring the next phase in on the 14th, and then the next cohort 2 weeks later.
Right. Okay. Katie?
Jackie, or a little bit earlier, you said that you felt like you needed a solid 2 weeks of in-school time, though. Does the 14th doesn't quite give you that? Is that?
It doesn't quite give me that, but if that is the exact date recommended by the committee, then the teachers are going to know that right now. Do you know what I mean? So that if they need to, they'll know ahead of time if they need to let Jen and I know that they are not able to continue in their position because they're being asked to come to school. You know what I'm saying, Katie? It'd be different if it was like we were deciding on that date and then I would need 2 more weeks to be able to understand what my teachers are thinking. But if they know now what the date is, it's a little bit different.
I just want to be sure that we're giving you a reasonable amount of time and space to make a plan, because I understand there's a huge amount of work and coordination that's going to go into whatever plan we go ahead with. And I want to make sure that you've got what you need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be fresh right now, but I proposed that date for a reason. So I know you're throwing out all these dates. I know that feels really late to people. It's hard for me to be trying to brainstorm with you, because in my mind, there's a reason why I chose that time. So I would prefer to start that week phasing people in, but again, this is the committee's decision. So if you're going to go with the 14th and the 28th, then it's my responsibility to try to make that work. I would suggest not doing that. I would suggest starting on the week of the 21st, but you are the committee.
I would support the 5-6 starting on the, are you saying the 5-6 starting on the 21st and then the 3-4 2 weeks beyond that? I don't know. I'm curious what other people think on those dates, because I think that seems reasonable.
Okay, so Katie, can we just clarify that, so 5th and 6th would be starting on the 21st?
You could
Correct.
even do the 20th on a Wednesday if that makes people feel better. If we're still
Okay, and then
That's fine.
third and fourth would be coming in on what date? The
2 weeks after that.
February
2
3rd.
Wednesdays later, right? So that would be February 3rd.
third or fourth?
3rd. Well, if we're gonna do Wednesdays, which might be a nice day
Right.
because it's our early release day anyway.
So that's February 3rd. Okay.
And then those students would
Well-
stay in for 2 weeks before we had February break.
Okay. And so, Jackie, if those are the dates, obviously, we're going to see how the plan works. That gives you ample time to be able to prepare. And you don't think it's too late based upon how things are going? You think it's reasonable?
Remember, I just want the committee to remember that I have all of the stakeholders in my brain and I get
Right.
emailed by all of the stakeholders and I live in the house, right? I live in the school. And
Mhm.
so I have been here. This is my 7th year. The 6th graders I've known since they were in kindergarten, including their families. And so when I say that I take time to create these giant documents that I send you, it's with somebody who really understands all of the families and people involved, including the teachers. And so when I'm trying to find consensus and build a little bit of middle ground and establish some trust with people, it's because I understand this community very well. And I know that there's going to be people who disagree with me and they think that I'm recommending the wrong thing. But that is, I have put hours into this. So so that recommendation to me sounds appropriate. It's taking into consideration my date that I put, as long as we do meet and we do talk about how it's going, how I'm feeling, the feedback from my teachers, the feedback from the parents, and the data from the state and the community. So as long as that's happening, then I think that proposal sounds appropriate.
All right, so I would like to make a motion. Oops, I'm sorry, Katie.
I'm just gonna suggest that we add those meeting dates in before we like formalize a plan, that they have at least 2 kind of check-in days there, one probably very early on, and then, one as we get a little bit closer. So like that being part of the proposal.
So you think it's important to have, so my personal feeling is I think we should vote on the plan. And we can plan on meetings anytime that I would think particularly Jackie and Jennifer feel they're ready for it. But if you want to propose some dates and put it into the proposal, I have no problem with that either.
Either way.
I mean, I think that we're committed to meeting to find out how things are going. I might almost prefer for, Jackie and Jennifer to meet and to hear from one of them to say, okay, we'd like to get together with the school committee. Here's a couple dates, giving proper notification and meet. And whether we meet once, twice, 3 times, we can meet as many times as it makes everybody feel comfortable. So I think committing to a date might be difficult. We commit to a date and then something happens. I don't know.
If I could jump in, and then y'all are the school committee, so you can do what you want. I have 3 other committees, and so everybody wants to meet as frequently as y'all want to meet. And so I can make it work. I made tonight work. I went to 2 meetings tonight. So I think we'll meet when we feel like it's necessary. I know we'll meet in December. We may meet before that. We may meet twice there. We may need to meet in January. I'd rather have the dates for return set in stone and then be able to doodle poll folks and say, yep, we need to meet. Because we also might need to meet and say, oh my gosh, look at the trajectory of the virus. We're going to, a school closure is being triggered. So I think if we just all commit to being as flexible as possible and as efficient with our time as possible, we could meet whenever we needed to.
Are you okay with that, Katie? Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the hybrid 2020 model with 2 amendments, that the 5th and 6th grade would be planning on returning to the school on January 20th, and 3rd and 4th returning on February 3rd. That in place of the 21st meeting. Okay, so is someone taking that motion?
Is Jess Carlson still here?
I don't know if Jessica understands how to write these because she's
Okay.
not usually a note taker.
I'm just basically writing everything everyone says. And
Okay.
it is going to be a lot of notes for this meeting.
Okay, so the most important.
Can you
So Jess,
just repeat your motion so I can get it exactly?
yes, so Jessica, the most important thing that we can do in taking minutes is really, knowing what really happens, and that specifically would be the motion. So the motion is to approve the hybrid 2020 plan with an amendment of removing the date of January 21st to reconvene the school committee, bringing back the 5th and 6th grade on January 20th, and 3rd and 4th grade on February 3rd. Is there a second?
I can second.
Okay, so just make a note that Jen Malcolm Brown is seconding. Is there any further discussion from the committee? Okay, Stephen?
I just want to thank everybody for listening and creating a set date, firm date for both staff and parents, guardians, families, and students, instead of letting that January 21st number just hang out there as a meeting. So I just want to thank everybody.
Stephen, it's all a process. We're all doing the best that we can and moving forward. You brought up a good point, and everybody has brought up good points, and I think we've meandered through a really good thing. So all in favor of the motion, and we do the roll call vote.
Malcolm Brown, aye.
Thomas Bateman, aye.
Diane, aye.
Hayes, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Okay, so the motion passes unanimously, and we have a plan. So I also want to thank you, Jackie, for really having this huge challenge and an unprecedented time. And as you mentioned, there's lots of constituencies and lots of people who are reaching out to you, all with the same intention of giving you information and advice and input and thoughts and their feelings. And you're having to synthesize all that. I hope you recognize that the committee really values what it is that you came up with in terms of a plan, and that I hope we accommodated you while at the same time setting some benchmarks and goals. I want to end my little spiel thanking everyone. And again, we are all in this together. We're going to work through this. I appreciate everything that our amazing teachers and paraeducators and staff have been doing. And as concerns come up, if they can approach you in a very collegial way and express them, I'm sure that we can try to work through this and accommodate any mitigation efforts and stuff. So I really appreciate everybody, and I appreciate all of you on the school committee for your dedication to the school and to also wade through all of these very difficult decisions. So we have future business items listed. Is there anything else anyone else on the committee would like to say before we adjourn? Lauren?
I just want to say, in taking in everybody's feedback and listening, I know what it's been like for me, and I really want to say how much I appreciate the job you've been doing, Jackie. I know you're in the heart of it, and that you care about all the people who are talking to you, and I appreciate all that you're shouldering right now. So thank you truly thank you, and you know, we support you. So thanks very much.
It was nice to end it with a little more gush. All right. So if there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
And Jen, I think, do you exit out and do all that stuff now?
Yeah, I can. What, Dan, what do you need to have happen with the recording?
They do it automatically at the town level. So
Okay, so I just stop recording and then it will, okay.
I think you can just exit out. That's what I've done.
Okay.
I have a question then. How do you find recorded things? Because I couldn't find on the school committee website any recordings. I found the minutes from our last meeting, but I can't find recordings anywhere.
The recording is through the town, and I believe Jessica may have, did you post it, Jessica? Or
No, I was told that people can request a recording through Grace, our town clerk, and she'll send it to them.
okay. Thank you for clarification on that. I knew there was
Thanks,
communication
Jess.
back and forth. All right.
Good night,
Thank you,
all.
Jessica, for
Bye.
taking notes or minutes.
Yeah.
I don't
thank
know
you.
how Trevor does this. I do not know how he does this.
You know what? I
Wait
don't
till
know
you see these
either.
minutes.
He does a phenomenal job. It's why we keep him.